I'm Anne. Standing in the middle of this elegant restaurant, the air thick with tension, I watch as my uncle's words hang heavy over the table. The room has gone deathly silent, and all eyes are on my sister, her face as white as a sheet. It's a moment I'll never forget, a turning point in our family dynamics that I could never have anticipated. A few days ago, I received a warm invitation from my uncle for a family vacation in a luxurious beach resort. He's the wealthy one in the family, always trying to bring us all together, even though our relationships have been strained for years. My mother, a cold and calculating woman, and my sister, a shallow social climber, have always looked down on me because I've chosen a simple life as a freelance writer, far from the glitz and glamour they crave. 2 days before the trip, I got a text from my mother with all the details, flight information, the resort address, and a reminder for Thanksgiving dinner. But when I checked the room list, I noticed something was off. There were rooms booked under my uncle's, my mother's, and my sister and her husband's names, but none for me. I texted my mother about it, and her vague reply, "The hotel is still sorting a few details. Just come," made my stomach sink. I tried to convince myself that it was just a misunderstanding. After all, my uncle was paying for the trip, and he wouldn't leave me out on purpose. So, I packed my old, battered suitcase and boarded the flight from Seattle. As soon as I stepped into the hotel lobby, I knew something was wrong. The front desk clerk looked flustered, clicking away at her keyboard and avoiding my eyes. My mother was standing nearby, pretending to be interested in the ocean view, while my sister sauntered over from the bar, a smug smile on her face. "You didn't book a room for me?" I asked, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside me. My sister laughed, a cold, cruel sound. "Yeah, we didn't. A failure like you doesn't deserve to travel with this family. No room, no seat at dinner, nothing." I felt a pang of hurt, but I refused to let them see me break. I looked at my mother, hoping for some kind of support, but she just stared back, her expression blank. In that moment, I realized that this wasn't a mistake, it was a deliberate act of humiliation. "Then I'll leave," I said calmly, picking up my suitcase. My sister's smile faltered for a second, as if she couldn't believe I was walking away so easily. The lobby fell silent as I turned and walked out the door, into the warm California sun. I sat on a bench outside the hotel, waiting for a ride to the airport. Holiday flights were expensive, but I didn't care. I just wanted to get away from this toxic family. As I watched families arriving at the resort, looking happy and content, I felt a sense of clarity wash over me. I didn't need their approval or their money. I was better off on my own. Just then, my phone rang. It was my uncle. His voice was calm, but I could hear the anger beneath the surface. "And, where are you?" he asked. "I'm outside, heading back to the airport," I replied. "Stay where you are," he said. I saw what happened. A few minutes later, my uncle appeared, looking as elegant as ever in his tailored suit. He sat down beside me and listened as I told him everything that had happened. When I finished, he looked out at the road for a long time, his expression thoughtful. "People who build their lives on borrowed money and false pride always crumble in the face of someone with true dignity," he said. He then pulled out his phone and made a couple of calls. First, he booked me a room at the resort, and then he invited me to Thanksgiving dinner the next evening. I told him I didn't want any trouble, but he just smiled and said, "Neither do I. But they need to learn a lesson." That evening, I checked into my room and my phone started buzzing with calls and texts from my mother and sister. They were angry, accusing me of making a big deal out of nothing. I ignored them and turned off my phone. The next night, Thanksgiving dinner was held in a private dining room overlooking the ocean. The table was set with fine china and crystal glasses, and the atmosphere was tense. My sister and her husband arrived looking tense, while my mother greeted me with a cold nod. As we sat down to eat, the conversation was stilted and forced. My sister kept making snide remarks, and my mother tried to steer the conversation towards more superficial topics. But then, after the main course, my uncle stood up. "I've supported this family for a long time," he said, his voice calm but firm. "I believed in keeping us together, but what I saw in the hotel lobby was unacceptable. I paid for this trip because I thought we owed each other basic decency, but instead, one member of this family was humiliated in public." He looked directly at my sister. "You were not joking. You were using your status to hurt someone. And from now on, all financial support I've been providing to this family will stop. No more monthly transfers, no more tuition payments, and no more housing assistance." My sister's face turned white, and her husband looked shocked. My mother tried to protest, but my uncle cut her off. "This is not a misunderstanding. This is the truth. You've all been living beyond your means, relying on my money to maintain your false sense of superiority. But the person you've been looking down on is the one with the real strength and dignity." My sister started to cry, but it was a selfish, panicked cry. Her husband sat there, speechless, his mind racing. And for the first time in a long time, I felt a sense of peace. I wasn't the one who had to answer for my actions. Over the next few days, the consequences of my uncle's decision became clear. My sister and her husband were in financial trouble, and my mother was forced to downsize her lifestyle. They started calling me, begging me to talk to my uncle, but I refused. I had finally broken free from their toxic influence. As the weeks passed, I focused on my work. I signed a long-term contract with a new client, and my income started to become more stable. I was building a life that was truly my own, based on hard work and integrity. My sister finally texted me one day, saying she was sorry for what she had done. I read the message and simply replied, "I know." It wasn't because I had forgiven her easily, but because I no longer needed her apology to validate myself. Looking back, I realized that this experience was a blessing in disguise. It taught me that true success is not measured by money or status, but by the ability to stand on your own 2 feet and live with dignity. And as for my family, they're slowly learning the same lesson. Maybe one day, we'll be able to build a healthier relationship, but for now, I'm content with the life I've created for myself. My old suitcase still sits in the corner of my closet, a reminder of the journey I've been on and the strength I've discovered within myself.